Between 2008 and 2019, 18,000 companies have left California for more tax and regulatory friendly states.
John, we're talking about Elon Musk moving from California to Texas.
Oracle saying they are changing their corporate headquarters from Redwood Shores, California to Austin, Texas.
The state's population and job growth have both slowed to a trickle. Census data shows more than 650,000 people left in 2019, after 7 years in a row where departures were on the rise. In fact, California has lost more people to other states than it's gained for much of the last 2 decades. And with the rise of remote work in 2020 adding extra flexibility, over 135,000 more people left California than moved here, the third largest net migration loss ever recorded. For a century and a half, California was in an almost constant state of growth, with booming business and expanding population. California's gold rush that started in 1848 led to one of the largest migrations in U.S. history, with hundreds of thousands coming from across the country and the world. The population explosion qualified California for statehood in 1850, just a few years after it was ceded by Mexico. California was an economic powerhouse by the end of the century, home to iconic brands like Wells Fargo and Levi Strauss. Scientists and researchers started flocking to the Bay Area in the early 1900s when San Francisco's port and nearby Moffett Field made the area a major hub for early telegraph, radio, and aerospace industries. Stanford University, founded in 1885, led the way in encouraging students to commercialize their ideas, leading 2 graduate students to start what many consider the first Silicon Valley startup in 1939, Hewlett-Packard. California's economy has grown to the 5th largest in the world. It had $65.6 billion in VC investment in 2019, by far the highest of any state. HP is moving its enterprise division headquarters to Houston, and many others are following. Oracle, founded in the 70s alongside Apple and Atari, announced in December that it's relocated its headquarters to Austin. Palantir is relocating to Denver. Elon Musk moved from Los Angeles to Austin, where Tesla's building its next gigafactory. Other major companies that have moved their headquarters out of California in recent years include Toyota, Charles Schwab, Nestle, and Jamba Juice. A 2018 study found that 1,800 companies left in 2016 alone, relocating mostly to Texas, followed by Nevada, Arizona, Colorado, Oregon, and Washington. This has been a trend for a while, but it's accelerated now. Now that the pandemic has largely made commute times irrelevant, moving is easier and makes more financial sense. In a study of more than 2,700 Bay Area workers, 2 of every 3 say they'd consider relocating if they could always work from home, something Dropbox, Twitter, and Facebook have offered, with the caveat that moving out of California could trigger a pay cut. An Edelman Intelligence survey found that 53% of Californians are considering leaving the state, with the desire highest among millennials. Wealthy, influential individuals leaving recently include Oracle's Larry Ellison, Dropbox CEO Drew Houston, Palantir co-founder Joe Lonsdale, high-profile investors and influential personalities like Keith Rabois, Tim Ferriss, Ben Shapiro, Peter Attia, and Joe Rogan, who's leaving California for Texas.
I just want to go somewhere in the center of the country, somewhere it's easier to travel to both places, and somewhere where you have a little bit more freedom.
Elon Musk also cited freedom as a major reason for his move to Texas, criticizing California's strict handling of the pandemic. Last May, Musk openly defied California shutdown orders by reopening his plant, facing strong reactions from some politicians.
If you're smart enough to build SpaceX, PayPal, Tesla, maybe we should have sat down with you and asked you, what do you need to be more successful in California?
CNBC measures states on more than 60 different metrics in 10 key categories of competitiveness. In 2019, Virginia, Texas, and North Carolina took the top 3 spots. California came in 32nd and came in last when judged on the cost of doing business. When it comes to tax structure for business, the Tax Foundation ranks California at the very bottom also, with only New Jersey ranked lower. While tax rates increase based on how much you make, California's top marginal income tax rate of 13.3% is far higher than any other state. New York's, for example, is 8.8%.
This is a personal income tax form in California. I never want to see one of these in the great state of Texas.
9 states, including Texas, have no individual state income tax on wages. While the super wealthy may be fleeing disproportionately high taxes, the cost of living comfortably is a consideration for everyone in California. Although California remains a top destination for people moving from other countries and rich transplants relocating from out of state, the White House reports nearly half of the country's unsheltered homeless people live on the streets of California. and a growing number of middle and low-income people are moving out of state, with the majority of those leaving reporting an annual income under $100,000. Of those surveyed by Edelman Intelligence, 53% cited housing as the primary motivator for relocating. Hiring in a state with a lower cost of living. Meanwhile, the pandemic has robbed California of some positives once used to justify its high cost of living. With an economy bigger than many countries, will California feel the impact of big companies leaving? And with super earners paying 40% of the state's tax revenues, can California afford to lose billionaires like Musk, one of the richest men in the world?
Some states, like New Jersey, has actually had to amend budgets when a single billionaire left the state. California would not be at that point where Elon Musk leaving California means they have to amend their budget. But as he leaves, and as companies like HP and Oracle and others relocate a significant amount of their operations, this has a huge impact, both immediately and in the long term. The investments they would make, them being located in a different place, the employment opportunities.
Still, a few big names, like Twilio CEO Jeff Lawson and Airbnb CEO Brian Chesky, have committed to staying in the state, and specifically the Bay Area. And many of the biggest Silicon Valley-based companies haven't announced any plans to leave.
Google, Apple, they are doing so well that the last thing they have to think about is moving. It's very much in their interest to stay here and get the latest of what's going on. Mine, if you will, these beautiful minds at places like Stanford and Cal.
But if California's people are the true draw, will it lose its edge if enough of them leave? Some say there's a tipping point at which the flow of businesses and people out of California outpaces its incubation of fresh ideas that entices businesses to come and to stay.
It's a challenging issue that California faces, and there's really no solution other than to make the state more competitive in terms of business costs and taxes and in terms of housing costs. Until that's done, California will probably continue to lose businesses to other states.
For now, big tech stakeholders will watch to see how legislators handle upcoming proposals. Some would target tech companies specifically, taxing data or digital services.
One of the worst things you could do right now is signal to these companies that are on the fence, if you stay, the taxes are going way up. But that's the conversation we're having right now. And there comes a point in which a lot of businesses are going to say, we don't need to be in California, and increasingly we can't afford to be.
Other proposals could raise the corporate income tax to more than double the rate in all but one other state, or push the combined federal-California top marginal tax rate to a whopping 53.8%.
I'm hopeful state legislators will take a step back and ask themselves, we better not do this. We're risking the state's economic future. We should make California a more friendly state to do business in. We don't want to drive away any more really incredibly productive, innovative people.
We've had massively bad recessions. We had a $35 billion budget shortfall in 2001. It cost the governor's job, but we've had those before. Somehow we come back, but you never know when that time is going to be the last.